All right. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the HHC podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Moreno, and I'm here with my brothers, Chris, Juan, and Josh. How y'all doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Good. Feeling good. Had a good week.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. We're coming to y'all here on a Saturday night instead of a Sunday morning because we're just doing a little pre-record. Our brother Josh has some work in the morning, so he doesn't get to get on live. So we just wanted to be able to bring this episode to y'all with all four brothers. I'm sure he has a good amount of Spurs talk that he wants to get on the table. So, we just want to make sure that we could get all four of us on the podcast, right?
We had to oblige.
Right.
Exactly.
I appreciate it, fellas.
But on a usual week, we do this podcast every Sunday at 10 a.m. Where we do go live on the four platforms of Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. All of which you can be able to watch us when we are live doing our regular show. Or if you can't catch us during the live broadcast, after the fact, you'll be able to catch us with the VODs on all four of those platforms. So can't be able to tune in during live. It's all good. You'll be able to catch in after. Make sure that you do follow us on Twitter at Heroes Half Court, where we do talk about Spurs basketball on the near daily. We have recently just been kind of putting out a good couple tweets here during like the live games and just doing our good Spurs talk, but using the Heroes in a Half Court account. So don't be afraid to reach out and have some conversation with us during the games. We love to have the interactions. But guys, we had a very, very solid 3-0 week. I think this was a perfect bounce back week off of the one New Orleans game. Obviously, a somewhat disappointing week last week, but I would say a very strong week coming into the Sunday, technically, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Josh, like I said, 3-0, beautiful week. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I feel good, especially coming after that horrible loss against New Orleans. You know what I mean? That was a killer. But to go 3-0 on the road and then come back and beat New Orleans tonight or this afternoon, like it's a very good week. That's what we needed to move forward, especially if your team play in, and it's perfect, man. We couldn't ask for anything better.
Yeah, no, definitely team playing, right? Or what's our it's like team playoffs, I think is like what Twitter usually, something like that. But
Sure.
it's always
We're not team tank over here.
I don't think any of us, that's exactly what I was gonna say. I feel like we all see Team Tank on Twitter most of the time, and that's why we don't know the name of our own little playoff push team. But either way, it's like there's never been I don't think any of us were on that side of like, I can't wait to see us lose against the Blazers this week. So but Juan, Josh was talking about how he feels like the week was just really solid overall. Do you have any specific games that you think that like the week is like popped out?
I guess the New Orleans game, the one today, because it was the one that mattered the most. It's been a while, but that Golden State game was we were handling it pretty well early on after the first quarter, and then we kind of let that game get away from us in the second and the third. They came back, they took the lead, but yet even though they're missing Steph, Klay Thompson was still there hitting shots, like we still managed to pull that game out, and we won in the clutch. And then the Portland game, you did what you had to do. You took care of business. And then it came down to today where both teams kind of came out like a little scrappy and missing shots. And it was a chippy game all day. A little bit of like emotions from both sides. And just see our guys pull it out, find a way to win. That like we had the stretch where we like it was a tied ball game, and next thing you know, we're up 10. Now we gave it right back up and we let it go all the way down to the final possession again. But like we are showing signs of growth, and that's all that matters. That's why, I'm not Team Tank, because these moments of the Warriors game of like fighting to the very end and finding a way to win, and today finding a way to win, like that's important for the guys.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I loved watching that Warriors game on Sunday just because I was able to sit there. I was still in San Antonio at that time, and I was able to sit there with Juan and our dad, and we were just like literally like kind of. I felt like for me, I was like watching it, paying attention, and then just like literally I look away for like half a second, and I look up, and all of a sudden like it's like whoa, what's going on? And then like Keldon with the rebound and the putback, and our little living room was like going crazy because just seeing like Keldon just put that right back up, and all three of us just being able to see it in that moment, it was great. I have to say that like it was also really solid to see us be able to just beat a bad team in Portland. It was something that was just like, all right, we know this team's not good. We know that we should just be able to come in and handle business, and we did. We didn't play down to the level. It wasn't obviously OKC last week was fine, but like it wasn't like your usual OKC game where they do have their guys and they like get a buzzer beater over us because we just played down to OKC's level. So it's same thing with the Blazers in that aspect. I feel like their team wasn't, should have taken care of business, and we did. So, but Chris, do you have anything to add on this week?
Yeah, well, I would just say that it, like you're saying, the focus in terms of beating a team like Portland, same thing. The focus is what the shift was in the second time of playing New Orleans in the past couple of days. You know what I mean? It's just how they approached the game was a lot different. And I'm feeling pretty good about this week. I mean, all the things that you guys said, and also just from the fact that last week was a pretty good mirror to this week. I mean, with no Steph, you still have Klay Thompson, you still have Wiggins, you still have Draymond. So like you're kind of around the same talent level as like a Minnesota was last week. You get the Portland team, which is on the same kind of level as the OKC, right? You get and then obviously you get the rematch with the Hornets. So. Or Pelican, sorry. So it was just very mirrored in that way. So I was very pleased because it just looked like the focus was better all week, and it's just the idea of if we keep having good habits, good things will come because of that, right? And that's even something that you hear DeJounte preach. What like in terms of like how he likes to do his stuff off the court, right? I just want to preach that if I'm a good person, I do good things come my way, right? And we saw even this week him buying his sister a car for fulfilling her grade obligation and this agreement that they had, and so, you know what I mean. So like it's been a good week. I've had a lot of good like lifted spirits because of the Spurs basketball. Oh, and then everybody's had a little bit of their moments. DJ's had some moments to kind of hit a big shot and like do the little like, oh, he's little on the court or whatever. Lonnie got another late shot. I can't remember. Sorry, Jake Devins had one of those moments yet for him this year.
Yeah, he had the buzzer beater the other night at halftime, right?
Right.
I'll give him that one.
But then but KJ, man, KJ getting the rebound, doing the almost looking like Shaq with the running, like pointing up in this like towards the bench,
right?
Like, man, that's probably the hypest I've been all year. Probably, with these game winners and like with these moments of our young guys. That's probably like top 2, top 1. I'd have to think about what would be better than that so far for me this year.
Yeah, right. And shout out to KJ for getting that ball up. Like he got that rebound and got it up quick. I'm glad he didn't have like one of those the LeBron pointing at J.R. Smith after he got the rebound and just
Josh would know this because he's like the same age as me, but like the old Winning Time Reggie Miller documentary, right? When they keep saying the presence of mind, the presence of mind, the presence of mind. That was running through my head that night whenever Richardson was like, yeah, he got it up. It was a smart play. I was like, the presence of mind.
Yeah, dude, it was Johnson. Like it was great, like to be that young, he could have just grabbed that ball, let it run out, like the time run out, and
quick.
Perfect. It was nice.
Yeah, it was nice. It was awesome.
That whole like thing, that whole night was like, you get up on a Warriors team, you let them back in it, but then you still find a way to win. I was looking at like Keldon's like box score for that game, and he didn't particularly like shoot well that game. Yeah, he had 5 for 14 on the night, including the game winner bucket. So that's like the type of things where, to me, it's like that's what's so awesome about watching these young guys grow is like they don't have perfect night shooting, scoring, everywhere else, and yet Keldon put himself in a position, him and DeJounte, like fighting for that rebound, and you find a way to win. Like that to me is like the best thing. Like if you look at the box score, you go, oh wow, like that wasn't that great. And then if
Yeah.
you just watch the game, you're like, oh yeah, these guys are just fighting and competing every minute of the game.
And it shows also in the fact that, like you were saying, we needed to show resolve in a game like that, like 4 or 5 times, not just once. You know what I mean? So like
Mhm.
we were able to ride that wave as a group, as a team, right? Same for the game today. I mean, like they came out with a lot more energy at the beginning, right? I wasn't too pleased with just like the focus was all right, but like everybody was really sloppy and it was just really slow. But they woke up. I'm glad to. I was a little worried about the early start. But they're young. They should be ready to go, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hey, those early starts used to kill us, right? It was ridiculous. It was like a
I used
curse.
to
The
every time
noon
I saw
games, if they played at noon,
ABC on Sunday, I'm
yeah,
like, oh damn,
just
yeah.
give us the L already. They came out. We would always come out and lose those games.
Well, it was definitely. I was surprised to see the early game. I was not ready for it to be early. Hadn't really like saw or looked at the game. I only was expecting 7 o'clock, and then all of a sudden it was like 4 o'clock, and I was like, oh, I gotta get ready for this Spurs game myself. Like I gotta get myself in the mindset to be ready to watch it and be like, all right, what can I look out for to talk about for the podcast, kind of thing. So
He would have tuned in to watch it, like for it to start, and it would have been like a 3-point game with like a minute to go or something.
Yeah,
No kidding. But yeah, if there's to what Juan was talking about with Keldon and that shot, I felt like it was the same way with Lonnie in that OKC game this last week, where it was like I think both players were like ended the game like 33 or 32% from the field. And they hit the last shot of for our team to be able to win, to be able to take it home. So it was one thing that kind of frustrated me when I saw a couple tweets after the game, and these guys on Spurs Twitter are talking like, man, why did KJ have to get the rebound and score? Like what?
Yeah,
Um,
who cares about them?
and then like to like start kind of talking on like the well, we played bad and we didn't deserve the win, but we won anyway, which is like a worst case scenario. And to me, I feel like I remember talking about Spurs games like years back, and it being like when we get mad because a team doesn't deserve to beat us and they beat us, and it's like that kind of stuff where it's like we've seen this happen with young teams beating the contending teams, which OKC not a contender either, but with Golden State at least, and we're
Well,
the
we're not
one,
we're not in a position to pick and choose who we beat or win. We just have to try to beat everybody. You
yeah,
know what I mean? So let's don't be
and
surprised if we beat them. We're
yeah.
trying. We're trying to win. If you haven't noticed about the players and how they talk and how they act, we're trying to win.
Mhm.
Exactly. And if there's another thing that I can shout out for this week in particular, it's Yak. Because last week I was like, Yak has been struggling. Yak has been passive. He's not the Yak that I'm like wanting him to be. He needs to get himself together. And this guy, like, sure enough, just I don't know, man.
He has like 11 blocks in the last 2
Yeah,
games or something like
he
that.
like he tuned into the HHC podcast
I
before the Golden
loved
State game.
I
And
loved to be getting to see him go at Jonas today, man. It was awesome.
yeah, I mean, it's just like one of those things
Yeah,
where like,
at one point they cleared out for him, and I was like, "Dang, go
Yeah,
ahead, then, Yuck!" Like,
yeah,
and
and
he put
they kind of went back and
that
forth
pop
too.
shot. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it was cool.
for sure. I mean, Yak this week has been killer. Yak this week has not disappointed, and I'm hoping that like we see this from him for the next 8, I believe they the next 8 games before the end of the season, because we're gonna need Yak to be hitting on all cylinders in order for us to have a chance to be able to make this play in. But do y'all before we even start going into the second half, or to this next week, do y'all have anything that y'all can add to how this week was?
Yeah, that Portland game, that like we kind of like brushed over it because it was just like an easy win. But I had messaged our little group chat. I think we were losing like 9-2, like 2 minutes in, and I was already done. Me and Jake went to that New Orleans game against the Pelicans where we were down 40-1. It felt like, and I just felt like that was coming out again, but against a much worse team. I was like, no way we're gonna like lay an egg against like the one team that we were already all marking off like that's a win. And it was only like 2 minutes in, and I said that, and like immediately after I say that, we went like on a 10-0 run. I think I joked around and like I looked at the stats. We went like on a 80 to like 40 run, and we were up like by 20 plus points.
Mhm.
It was a good game. Everybody got to get like good stats, good numbers, because like that was one of the games where none of our guys could miss. We were just all letting it fly and doing stuff. And I was a little sad to like look at the box score after, and Primo was like in single digits. He was like one of the only starters I think that didn't get to double digits. I think Sean had touched on. He's like, now in the fourth quarter, I want Primo to start getting more looks. But I think he's just such a fluid player on the court that he kind of fits to anybody's needs, and he doesn't always need a score. But that game in general was fun. And then there's like a little bit of like chippiness at the end. I don't know if you guys remember with Drew Eubanks and Jock. I don't know if like what all quite happened there, but it was cool to see Drew Eubanks drop like, I don't know, didn't he have like almost 20 points on his?
I think
Drew
I think he
had Drew Eubanks had
must have just
20
missed
points.
that, dude. I didn't even know
Yeah.
that he was beefing with Jock, man.
It was right at the
no,
end.
no, it was just right at the very end. But like he even said at the end in his post game interview, like Drew did. He was like, I love those guys. I love the players. I love the staff. I love the city. I love them. He was like, everybody. I love everybody.
And he even said, right, he's excited to play us again. Like,
He-
and that
I-
the next
I- what
time,
I-
the
all I
next
saw-
time it'll be different, right? Next time the outcome will be different.
Yeah, that's the quote that I had saw too. That it would be different.
So
Yeah.
Drew
Maybe they'll lose by 10 this time.
Drew played the most minutes for the team, running 36 minutes out for the Blazers, and put up 20 points, 4 assists, and 9 rebounds. He did that on 8 for 13 shooting and 2 for 3 from 3. So it was
He had a good little game, and his energy, it's like it's tight. It was a little sad because you could tell like some of our guys were like, all right, we know exactly how to beat this guy on the defensive end, like for him on defense. But it's always fun to just watch like former Spurs, and then like obviously like him like he was on our team this year. But just the Portland game in general, like that's what you want to see, like a good night for everybody to just go out there and get their numbers. DeJounte,
It was multiple runs too, like you were saying. It was like 5 different runs throughout the game.
Yeah, and DeJounte like had like a 9 or like at least 9 points because he had like 3 straight threes to end the first quarter, and they were all like pull up threes. It was insane.
It was the step back, right? The crossover step back.
Yeah. It was his like
was
the,
in
a
He
trans.
was in his
He
bag.
like
Yeah, he
I
was in
remember
his
him running
bag,
in
dude.
transition and like deep 3. I was like, whoa, all right.
Sean Elliott had like the quote of the day when that happened. He said, he's like, that's some stuff that Kobe Bryant would do. He was like, just be half asleep for the quarter and then be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get my shots now, and run off 3 threes in a row to close the quarter.
He scored like 11 points like this.
Yeah, it was awesome. That Portland game was like, obviously Portland at this point they were running out. I know Drew's still getting 10-day contracts, but like
I know, sign that guy already, dude. What's wrong with you?
Finish it out for the year. I don't know why they're doing that to him.
But yeah, it was just nice to see our guys get their numbers, get like a good game in, and maybe like a little bit of confidence rolling into New Orleans. And so that was awesome. I do want to say DeJounte had like a rough shooting night against New Orleans. I'm not like Jake when I look at the box score. I'm like, oh, he shot 24% for the night. Like you could just like you were just watching the game, and like the looks they were throwing at him, it was like triple teams, double teams, like trapping him in like corners and stuff, not letting him get like to his spot. And for some reason, like we were having such a hard time just playing off of those double teams, off of those traps or whatever.
They were flying. Sean Elliott touched on it. Those guys were flying around like defensively.
Yeah.
Like hats off to them, because I felt the same way. I was like, God, like, why is it so hard for anybody to do anything right now?
And he said that they were like trying to force us to one side of the court, but maybe he was looking at it from that angle, because all I could see was I was like, why the hell are we just we keep going to the same side as each other? So maybe that was more by design than I was able to see at the time, because it was just getting real stuffy for a while.
And I know Juan was just like making fun of me for looking at the numbers, but when you look at the numbers and see DJ shot 5 threes, and like, I mean, he doesn't necessarily shoot threes all the time. I could tell in the game from watching it that it was a thing where sometimes they just like there was one play where I was a little
Two of those
confused.
threes were he was going 2 for 1, and he just threw them up.
Yeah,
Remember?
but and so that's what I'm saying though is that like to know that like DJ doesn't necessarily shoot that many threes. Like you take a couple of those shots out of that in that manner, you know. And it's one of those things where even like looking at those numbers to be able to see like, well, this is out of the norm for a player like him. This isn't a thing that like you would necessarily harp on too much, you know. A 1 for 3 night from DJ,
and it justifies the fact that you can still have an impact even with misleading numbers like that, or
Yeah,
numbers
so-
that kind of go against you a little bit.
So that's what I was gonna say. It was one of those games where, the shots aren't falling for him. Like whatever offensive looks, he was still playmaking, rebounding, defense. He still had a triple double today. He's second in the league in triple doubles. I know, like stats are like
at 13, right?
So,
stats are
yeah.
a little inflated. Everybody gets all their numbers these days, but like it is proof of like his contributions everywhere on the court. And I think it was like intentional that Pop like staggered Keldon like away from DeJounte, because those were really the only two guys we had this game. I don't know if you guys noticed that Keldon looked like he like went to the bench pretty early and then like kind of managed to
I,
on his
I
own.
I was wondering if it was they didn't like something that they saw defensively, because they ended up going with Kata Bates, I think. So I just thought that they were trying to get a little taller, but it's interesting that you saw it as like him trying to pull them apart from each other a little bit.
So my theory is that one, they had both Yak and Keldon had like a personal foul, or there was like a personal foul that they thought was like Keldon's second, but it was Yak's first. So they pulled Keldon like almost immediately after that personal foul.
Yeah, right there on the baseline underneath the basket.
But it ended up being like a Yak personal foul. And so then I remember them like being like, oh, well, that was a wrong call kind of thing. And Keldon like got up ready to go to the thing like, oh, well, I still got, I'm gonna go back out there kind of thing. And then they just like, no, we'll let Kata get this run in. And that to me, that was like a thing where I was like, all right, I think what Juan is saying comes off of them like thinking Keldon had the two personal fouls, and they're
Well,
like, we're gonna have to stagger him now.
But
and not
Juan,
let him play,
do you think that it worked?
I do, because like I said, I think DeJounte had like a rough scoring night, but I know we were going to touch on it a little bit here, but we were kind of depleted with Devin also being out for the New Orleans game, alongside Devin or Lonnie and Doug, and Langford has been out for a while as well. So you're missing three bodies, and the bench was kind of like depleted, as if you would have just did like your 5 in 5 out. And I think it was an intentional, like, all right, well then we're just gonna like let Keldon like run with some of these other guys off the bench to kind of give like some type of energy scoring. And I think it worked.
Richardson could kind of bridge the gap a little bit between those two players too.
Yeah. And so I think it worked.
And he did, right? He had big shots.
Mm-hmm.
Josh,
well, his defense today is that second quarter, man. Watching him hound the heck out of CJ every time CJ was trying to get to the ball. It was awesome to watch.
Hey, you could tell CJ McCollum was getting frustrated. I think he fouled like the three. Right? Remember when he fouled him on the three, and he kind of like, I know it looked like he tried to jump away, but I feel like he did it on purpose. Like hit Josh Richardson on that three. Like, yeah, that was good. That was good stuff from J Rich.
Yeah, sure. I know we and I'll let you get back to your point in just a second, Juan. But I know a lot of people on Spurs Twitter have been like talking about like Josh Richardson's play and how like it's like been smooth and nice. I love it that it feels like we're noticing it because he's new on the team, and we're like probably like a little bit more like looking out to see what he can do for us. But like I love it that it feels like he just fits in and is just like doing his role like to a T. Like there wasn't like oh, well, this is a slow start for him. This is trying to get adjusted to the system or anything like that. Like it was just like, well, here's a guy who knows what he's doing on the court and just put his play from the Boston to San Antonio, and it worked perfectly.
Yeah,
it was just like such a perfect transition.
He definitely looks like a vet, like on our team, and the good side of the vet, when the vet's actually like producing, right? But I would kind of push back against that point just a little bit and just say that like he's made you pay attention to him because he's been impactful in so many games.
Yeah, I feel like he's been a Spur the whole season. The way he fits with us, like it's beautiful to watch. Like we plugged him in, and there was no. I mean, obviously I can't remember the first couple games. He just got a couple minutes here and there, but as soon as he started getting his minutes, it's like he's been a part of the team, a part
and
of the
he's,
guys. You know, they play with him so well. You saw DeJounte like go behind the back to him, hit him right in the numbers for the 3 today. Like they play so good to with him at least. You know?
and he's started and he's come off the bench and had good performances from both perspectives. So like very like versatile for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I had mentioned a couple of weeks ago, like of how bad I felt when Doug went down with the ankle injury, and it kind of solidified like, okay, Josh Richardson is going to be like part of this like rotation now, because it didn't feel like much of a drop off from the 3-point shooting. And I know Josh's like numbers are kind of like too high, right? It's like lights out. He's gonna have to come back down to earth, like his 3-point shooting.
But I think Sean said like 43, right? 43% since he became a Spur.
Yeah, well,
they were pegging his number at like 40, right?
Well, I think he was already having Jake knows a little bit more. He was already having like a decent, like a good shooting year from distance.
Even if he just dropped down to 40, Jesus.
Well, I think at one point, the reason I say that is because I remember looking at his stats one time and it was like 48. Yeah, 48%.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was just like, oh my God, like no wonder, like this guy's just on fire from deep. But I was gonna say, like, it makes it kind of like easier, like if Devin or one of these guards can really take a next step next year. Like I know poor Doug was here for a couple months, but it's like, well, where is Doug's place in this rotation? If we get a big next year, like if you get a big in this draft, you put him at the 4. Like I just don't see.
But I think that's why they signed him for that 3-year. I think his salary is the same every single year because like I think
easy piece to move. Do you think that
exactly? I think even coming after coming after of an injury, it's still probably a friendly contract.
It's just a sprain, I think, too.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably I think it was like a grade 3. Like it's probably like a more severe sprain, but it's probably still you can come back from it. So like,
yeah,
I think he is kind of a movable piece.
Y'all were talking about Josh Richardson, and real quick, I just want to like put these numbers out. On the year, Josh Richardson is shooting 41%. In Boston, it was 39.7. And now with the Spurs, it's 45.8. So shooting 45.8 from 3. It's pretty crazy numbers, to say the least.
Remember whenever a couple episodes ago I was talking about how we need to start Josh Richardson at like he needs to start, and I was saying like that he was just a better fit because he doesn't need the ball in his hands. Like we were talking about him and Derek, their spot on the team, and like we get him like the best look. He just moves so good without the ball. Like he's not taking like no bad 3-pointers. I feel like they're all like in the offense, and I feel like half the time he's wide open.
He took one in the Portland game, I think, where he was kind of smothered out on the far right side and ends up kind of just fading away and still letting it go. And I think even Sean Elliott was like, "That's the first bad look I've seen all game."
I just feel like,
but I agree. I agree with what you're saying.
Perfect. Like, I mean, if he's gonna continue to get these type of looks that he's getting, I don't see why.
And it's important. It's important because like he is doing the same things that like Rudy Gay was doing in his productive years, which is showing you in what opportunities this is when I should shoot the ball right here, boom, and then the younger guys start to pick those kind of things up. You know what I mean? Because we still have moments. I mean, during today's game, like there was moments where it was Trey Jones and Josh Primo out on the court together, and if both of them are too shy to shoot the ball, it puts a big wrench into our offense. We're like passing, and then like here's the shot. Nope, they didn't take it. It keeps swinging around. Swinging. Oh, here's another shot. Oh, nope, they didn't take it.
Speaking of Trey Jones, like he was like I was getting a little frustrated because his lack of shooting, just like like I couldn't count like how many times the ball would swing his way. I'm just like shoot the damn ball, dude.
Well, he took the one in the corner that he hit. You know what I mean? And it's like.
And it was a 2, right? And it would be a 2.
Yeah, of course, it had to be a 2.
Of course, yeah.
But I just the thing that frustrates me the most is just like those are the moments that feel. And I've told Jake this before, like when we recorded, was like like, haven't we done this already? Like, wasn't this last year with DeMar DeRozan? Like, are we past this part already? So
Yeah, and you know, and it's like they just let him. They know exactly what they're doing. You know, they're NBA coaches.
And I think
like
Dan
that's so
said that
frustrating.
Dan said that he's taken more in this recent little road trip too.
Yeah,
So like,
in the
you
little
know,
stretch.
it-
Yeah, you know he's
has
trying
to.
because
But he has
before.
to take those.
yeah.
Yeah,
He's wide open in the corner.
But in my opinion, though, like in this case, like Primo too, like he's very versatile in terms of where we want to put him. Well, if you're out there with like DeJounte and like Keldon, you can be the off-ball guy and you're running, you're trying to contribute in your ways. If you're out there with a Trey Jones, I think you need to be looking to shoot the ball more if you're a Primo. You know what I mean? Like you have to.
Yeah.
Take it. You have to take more of that shooting guard mentality and take that initiative. Say, okay, now I need to get some looks.
I agree. It's the same thing where that's why I tell Jake all the time, like, I feel so bad about, like, Trey does so many good things on the court, but if he doesn't have the ball in his hands and everybody else is deferring, like, the whole team is just passing the ball and nobody's taking shot, just like what Chris brought up. And it's like, it's not fair to Trey, but it's like, what if these guys need the ball in their hands to be effective, like right now, then don't put Trey like on the court with them, because he just sits in the corner and then it clogs the paint for everybody and then nothing happens.
Yeah, and I know
well as,
probably
like-
at some point they feel like they have to. I mean, they had Joe out there for a little bit. He had a couple air balls today.
If
And
Trey-
yeah, he did.
If Trey's not like facilitating and creating for others either, like setting other people up, then it's just like then he becomes even less of a factor. So
and it's up to the other people that are not the point guard to take up some of that for him. You know what I mean? And that's how they can be a good teammate for him. And not all of it's his fault too. Like he goes out there and probably shares a lot of minutes with like a Zach Collins, who also is working through a lot of things. And sometimes he gets the ball and is a little timid, or it's in a bad position and throws up some dumb stuff in the paint. You know what I mean?
I'll say that, like, I feel like out of all the players on the team, Trey's the person who is forced, and not by his doing, but by the team play. Trey is the one who is forced to take like some of the worst shots, stuff that where you're just like, he like has to take like a quick runner off of like with 3 seconds in the shot clock because our team.
He has to take them because he don't know how to shoot the damn ball, because he runs himself into those positions. If he's catches the ball and he's open, I mean, most of the time he catches the ball, he's open out there.
There are times where it feels like, you know, we ran our set play, we got it ready, and like we set our guy up, but then they like kind of fumbled with it and they didn't necessarily make the right decision. So then it ends up going right back to the point guard.
Yeah, but either way, like for the most part, when you see his like shots that like are leading to this discussion, it's when the ball finds him in a shooter's position.
And the reason they find him is because he's wide open, because their man is sitting underneath the basket.
Which I get that. I get that, and that's, I mean,
there's probably a small amount of times where he has to throw up a long range shot off of what you're saying, right? Because for the most part, he has good decision making skills when he attacks the paint. He brings a lot to the table in that regard, but like I think I don't know. I don't know if he's getting caught in that position as much as like you're saying.
I think it's just a sense of like, I mean, he still gets to like a position that's like comfortable. And I mean, sometimes you see him like where he does take the guy right off the 3-point line and then he'll like make his quick little layup, like just because he was able to create that space from them running out and him running down. Right. Like I'm just saying that like there are times where it's like, oh, well, he catches the ball and there's 3 seconds left. Just like Josh said, though, like he should shoot the ball at that point, but he takes it right off the 3 and then like tries to like take a layup, and you know it either goes in or it doesn't at that point, because sometimes he can get it in, sometimes it will like just roll right out. And I was just saying that like I think like when it comes to like how like the Spurs will play whenever like the shot clock goes down, it feels like Trey's the one who gets the ball in his hand right there where there's 3 seconds left and he has to make that decision.
Again, it's because the way like you said, the way the play is going around and everybody's trying to make their moves, and they're like, oh, there's a wide open guy, and they just instinctively throw it to him. It's him. and
Yeah.
And that's by design because of the defense.
Yeah, but I mean when you see on contrast, like we saw today, CJ McCollum catch that three and had a quick trigger to let it go and just shoot the ball, right? And it's like obviously he trains for those moments, right? He's a shooter, and what we're saying though is like Trey's got to have some of that. You know what I'm saying? He's got yeah. Whatever reason, when the ball flies to you, sometimes you have to let it go.
Yeah,
and this is like the same issue we've talked about, like to each other before, like years ago, was with DeJounte and Patty. When DeJounte was a baby, we used to let Patty and DeJounte run the guards off the bench, and Patty would run around for 20 seconds trying to break people down, and then he would throw it to DeJounte at the last second, and DeJounte would he'd have to shoot up a terrible shot. He couldn't shoot. He's still not the greatest shooter, and it's like it's the same problem. Like, why not just have the guy who can break people down do it, and the shooter and Patty Mills be off to the side and be your secondary? And it's like, it's not a problem we're barely encountering for the first time. This is something that's happened
Yeah,
on
that's a
our
good
team
pull.
before.
That's a good pull.
And you know, it used to blow my mind then. Like, I was like, what are we doing? And I didn't even know DeJounte was going to be what he is now. It was just like, in a very basic concept, let the guy who is the point guard be the point, and let the shooters be playing off ball.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, I don't think Trey's a bad player. It's just kind of sometimes the fit. Sometimes they play Trey and DeJounte together, and it's the same stuff. It's just like not enough shooting from the guard position, and then so there's no lanes for them to break people down. But hopefully, you know, like that'll just fix itself, like throughout the years, as you become a decent spot up shooter.
Yeah, and we've seen our guys make exactly. We've seen our guys make concerted efforts in one specific area of their game. So I mean, I'm sure he's ready to get to the off season whenever that is, and just get to shooting basically.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that like Juan was saying, like right there with like the whole like not having shooters around him, I feel like that was pretty apparent in this game too. Just like like the fact that we didn't have Devin or Lonnie out there to be able to get the running time to just have another shooter out there. You know, I definitely I understand that Joe, we drafted him as a 3-point specialist and stuff like that, but he's not getting consistent playing time or anything like that for him to get a rhythm.
I did appreciate him getting 2 shots up though in tonight's game. I was like, hey, he's shooting. He airballed them both, but I don't care.
He did, but I loved the looks.
I think it's because they knew exactly what he was in there for. What we were lacking was shooting, and they're like, all right, we're not letting this guy get any good looks. Like,
yeah,
I can see that.
And so it was a thing where it was also just like, with those minutes, they're probably not like, if we had a guy like Devin out there, we had a guy like Lonnie out there, DJ's not out there 40 minutes, and we can finally have somebody who at least can shoot a little bit better off ball.
Today was for sure. It was a product of us being depleted.
And so is the other thing that I wanted to talk about today before we get into next week's stuff, or to kind of get into next week's stuff, which is our roster being a little depleted right now. You know, we right now we're Devin's day to day. There's probably a solid chance that he does come back, but no Doug, no Lonnie, and still like no like Romeo Langford. Even if we had Romeo Langford out there to play and just run around, I don't think he made bad decisions in his
this whole last stretch. Would have been perfect to see him get minutes and just to see him. I really was impressed by that one. I don't even remember what game who they was against.
It was only one showing, right? He had
he came in. He had a couple of good, like great defensive.
A dunk, that dunk.
Yeah, he had a dunk.
Very reminiscent of like last year's Drew Eubanks, like come in and have like 5 really loud minutes.
Yeah.
And so exactly, that's like the thing I'm trying to say is like we had Devin out today, we had Lonnie out, and Doug who has been out, and then like even like Romeo Langford, who we could have used an extra body to make it a little bit of an easier flowing game for us, and we were able to win against the Pelicans team, but how, you know, like we have Memphis coming this week, and if we don't have all those guys or a couple of those guys coming back, like what are we gonna do? You know, how is this team going to be able to perform against a team like Memphis when we do not have the roster like that?
Well, first thing, just to kind of like tie in, like you said, like the last stuff we've been talking about, and the upcoming week. Jock Landau playing there at the end of the game. We hadn't mentioned him really.
At the four.
At the 4, he
At
saved
the
the game.
four. Yeah, he did.
He came in there at the
Shout out,
end of the
Jock.
fourth quarter, and like you said, like we were depleted. We hadn't really played him all game, and he just comes in and he's a big man, has size, and then could shoot the ball, and it saved us.
Yeah,
Pump,
and if you
the
think,
pump and the step to side with the three.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
that was a killer
J
shot.
Rich just tweeted like the Jock Landale game. Like that's what he tweeted just a little while ago.
nice.
Yeah.
And if you think about, like, Zach Collins was having a rough go, and all of the best times, because Zach ended up having some decent like contributions towards the end of the game, right? Like more from like finding good people on his passes.
He
And,
found Jock, right? He found Jock down low.
Okay,
for a
so
dunk.
all of the best moments of Zach Collins' game came when him and Jock were playing together. So Jock brought a lot of stability to our team on both ends, playing with Zach and playing with Jakob at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bring that up because I think that's important to go against Memphis when they run Steven Adams and Jaren Jackson against us. Like, it's just going to help. And then you're kind of forced to, because I don't want to see Keita out there like trying to body up one of those guys. You know what I mean? I love Keita and whatever he did. I've told Jake a million times, I don't think Keita needs to suit up for us ever again this year. Like, I think his time is done. I think you got to run these lineups with dual bigs. Like, yeah, you could run a little bit of small ball stuff like every now and then, like for your bench unit, but bring both Jock and Zach off the bench together, or like to help Jock out.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important. I think that's hopefully like what we'll see this next week, because of like depleted lineups.
We've been needing to do that. We've been saying that for how long, that Keldon Johnson needs to be our 3, or at least I have. Like we should have been doing this in my eyes, and I feel like tonight. It was like it showed. Like it was nice. It was nice having.
I mean, it helps. It helps that Jock Landau was making shots. I mean, we've seen him shoot very poorly in a game before.
Right. But I still think the idea of him being out there, like I know Juan brought up Memphis. If we're gonna be playing Jaren Jackson and Steven Adams, and they're gonna be running that lineup against us, I would love to have Jock Landale on the 3-point. Yeah, on the 3-point line to pull one of those guys out of the paint and have DeJounte and Keldon attacking one of the two instead of both of them being there, and then passing it out to whatever we're gonna pass out of that to.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, now I will say, like, I know Juan was saying about like Keita Bates. Like, I think you can use Keita Bates in a backup power forward minutes for a little bit. You know what I mean? But again, like the same way, it's like if you have Keita Bates at the 4 and you have Jock or Zach at the 5. For some teams, that's big enough on a bench unit. I think. You know what I mean? Like for him to do what you would want a stretch for to do. You know what I mean? And he's got decent qualities. So he reminds me a little bit of like Rudy Gay, and just like he'll find good positions, and he's really, really tall and like lanky. So I don't know. He's just like, he doesn't have to work that hard to get there.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing to talk about when it comes to Keita is just the fit, especially because for the most part he is the backup. He's not really starting. And when you're the backup, that means that you're probably playing minutes with Trey Jones. So then if you have a guy like Keita out there with Trey Jones, then you have, and beforehand, when Keita was getting most of his PT, you had Trey Jones, Keita Bates-Diop, and Drew Eubanks, all 3 of which could not shoot.
And we had seen times where all the bad things that we were just talking about with Trey Jones, we've seen Keita Bates feel like that too. So I remember.
And it's a thing where it's just like, yeah, like if we are running Trey out there, it is a lot more beneficial to have 4 guys out there with Trey to shoot than it is to see only 2 guys out there that shoot the ball while Trey's out there. So,
but I will say, like, just to kind of get back to what Juan was saying, like there were so many times in the fourth quarter where you could see having Jock out there as that secondary rebounder was just creating so much more opportunities for us. There was times where on a fast break, he was being able to be that first disruptor that was enough for Jakob to get over and get a block. Like it just provided a lot. It just provided so much for us, like all over. So I mean, I think for sure against Memphis, that's probably the best example of if you were gonna bring it back, would be against a team like that. I don't know if we need to see it or if they're gonna do it like every game moving forward or for extended periods of time. But I mean, man, I would just love it. It looked a little bit more old school, but maybe that's just the type of personnel we got.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And we're talking about Memphis. I think we can kind of go into how we think next week's games are going to go, because before we play against Memphis, we'll be going out to Houston on Monday, then coming back home to play against Memphis, then still home Friday to play against Portland. So whereas it's like I think I feel like I've like talked about how it's like sandwiches of like tough game, easy game, tough game. This one feels more like let's take care of Houston, easy game. This is a tough game to look out for in Memphis, and then another easy game in Portland. But that means that we cannot we have got to stay on track. We have got to be focused this week because all three of these games are winnable. They're all winnable. And when I look at the injury report, it said that Ja Morant, as of March 24th, is going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So that means that he should pretty much not be playing against us on that Wednesday.
Yeah.
No Ja Morant means there's a lot more that we can do against a team like Memphis and be able to get out a win against the top team in the West.
No, they're they're like on a 75 game percent what is it? You know what I mean? Like they're 16-2 without John Morant, or I think that's the stat.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. 16-2 without him.
Their win pace is it's like Jordan Poole's record. So Jake, I don't know if it's something to just kind of be like they seem to be a better team without John Morant. It's just something
I think they just beat Milwaukee today.
They did?
I definitely
so. Yeah.
Even if the record tells me that they're 16-2 without Ja Morant, it's a thing where how many times when we lose ball games to the Memphis Grizzlies, why is it is it because of Jaren Jackson Jr.? Is it because of Steven Adams?
It would definitely
Ja Morant dropped 60 points on us.
It would definitely be a good test for us to see okay, without them, are they going to be lead? Are they going to? Is their point of attack Desmond Bain now? Dylan Brooks is back, I'm pretty sure. So is he the one
back.
that leads? Does he lead their charge? Because he's pretty vocal. He's not afraid to shoot the ball. Obviously, he's a starter. So is he the guy?
And I'm sure they're I'm not saying that game has turned into another easy game. I understand that game's still going to be really, really tough. Another game that we're gonna have to be just as focused and pull out a win the way that we did against Golden State.
Exactly. I was gonna say the Golden State is a good comp. Yeah.
But to me, it's because they don't have a Ja, this is our chance. This is our moment.
And a guy like Ja Morant would definitely abuse having Jock and Jakob out there. So maybe this is the time to try to test it out again.
Yeah.
100%.
But I mean,
if Dylan Brooks goes off for 40 points, I'll be so pissed off. I cannot stand that guy.
What do y'all think are we should be looking out for into this week going against Houston, Memphis, and Portland?
I think Houston's a trap game because
I was gonna say you cannot overlook Houston. That was a nice one.
Yeah, because I feel like you're looking forward to Memphis. You got to take you've been getting smacked around by Memphis for the last couple of years. It's one game at a time. Look at Houston, take care of business. I think they've their rookie guy has been having a decent he's having a good March. So the couple of games we played against Houston, I don't think Jalen Green's really done that much. So if he's getting into his flow, getting into his rhythm, that's something to look out for. That's talent over there. And that's pretty much the one thing I was gonna say was it's a trap game. You don't want to overlook Houston.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if
and I believe Houston
they did beat us off of
Eric Gordon and Kevin Porter hitting threes.
Yeah, it was the Eric Gordon game.
This is pretty neat. So looking at StatMuse, right? Because Juan was talking about Jalen Green, looking at StatMuse and seeing like just whatever it like pops up here. Jalen Green's 3 games against San Antonio. In those 3 games, he averages 11 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists on 25% shooting, 16% from 3, 90 from the free throw line. But then to look at his last 5, he's been putting up 15, 4, and 3 on 40% shooting, 32 from 3, and 84 from the free throw line. So, like Juan was saying, I mean, we were able to kind of keep him from being able to like be crazy out there. But these last stretch of games are definitely showing that like he's been able to knock it down at a decent enough rate.
Well, I mean, I would be interested to see like. I think Richardson's going to provide a good defensive, thing for us against a team that like we've already. Yeah, exactly. Like imagine a game where we can keep Kevin Porter down a little bit, or Eric Gordon, frustrate him a little bit, because he beat us and he looked like the savvy vet, the last time, or like that the one time that they had beat us, right? So, it'll be good. I will say though, like you guys were mentioning the trap game. Think about it like this, like I'll just ask the question then, like if you could choose, would you want to have that Memphis game be the first game of the week, the one in the middle like it is, or the last game of the week? Me personally, I think I like it being in the middle, because like if you put it to the top, okay, what does that mean for your focus moving forward to those other 2? Or you're saying if you're looking ahead towards Memphis and you put it at the end, now you're possibility of being jaded for 2 games or whatever, I don't know.
I think keeping it in the middle is pretty good.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I'm fine where it's at, but I'll say it like this too. We're coming off of a 4-game road trip to come home to play against Memphis. Might be a little tired. Might be a little on like the.
That's a good point.
Like coming home like that. So if it's the last game of the week instead of just barely coming home, then we have Wednesday against Portland in that sense. Coming home to be able to like get our energy back, to be able to like make everybody feel a little bit better that they're back home, so that Friday game against
give
Memphis
you a good shot against, or put your best foot against Memphis. To be honest, coming back after this 4-game is a good point.
I think that the way to me, I don't think that's probably going to affect us too much, because it's the way the schedule, like
we had a lot of rest this week.
Well, New Orleans, I'm just saying New Orleans, they probably flew home tonight because they play Houston, and they could leave to Houston Monday during the day,
morning, the morning before the game.
Monday morning. So so they're probably at home, and then they're just going right there to Houston. They're going to come right back home. So to me, the fatigue is probably not going to the fatigue's probably not going to be there, because they're probably sleeping in their beds right now as we speak. It's
probably a 40 minute plane ride or something.
Yeah, with the early game being today, they've probably been home. So I think that Juan hit it right on the head. You cannot overlook Houston to get to Memphis. And I think that, and I don't think anybody on that team is worried about where we're going to draft. I think they're all worried about getting to the play-in. You listen to our guys, a couple of the quotes, they know the situation that they're in. So I think that everybody's going to be pretty, psyched for these last couple games, right? We only got a handful of games left to get to this play-in. And by tomorrow night, heading into that Houston game, they're going to know where, New Orleans and the Lakers are as well. They play each other tomorrow. So I think that they won't like fall into that trap against Houston, but it still kind of scares me, because I know Memphis is waiting for us, but it's
out of all the ways that this week could have played out in terms of like it ending with New Orleans, the way that it played out gave us like probably the most control that we can have over our own destiny, right? So like, and I think it is in front of everybody's mind. Like this is the goal.
I think during today's broadcast too, they said that we have the easiest schedule going forward out of the New Orleans, Lakers, and us, obviously. So,
Lakers play a lot of strong teams on the road, and
I think they play New Orleans again, right?
Maybe.
I think
Yeah,
they're playing 2 more times tomorrow and then again.
I don't
Nice.
think so. The
No?
Lakers. Oh yeah, they do. They play them tomorrow, but then they play them this Friday, April 1st. So this like
Yeah. See. Okay.
So
So I know
so
they
so
played.
this
this
so
week.
the same kind of like week to week thing that we just have in New Orleans now. LA will have it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so who knows? You know, I don't even know who to root for in that sense. I mean,
So I have the Lakers in the New Orleans like schedule pulled up. So the
mhm.
Lakers will play the Pelicans on this like Sunday,
You're
uh,
right.
and then the Mavericks, and then the Jazz, and then the Pelicans again that Friday, and then the next week would be the Nuggets, Suns, Warriors, Thunder, Nuggets. So they
Nuggets
They have
twice.
yeah
rough.
Nuggets
eh,
twice with a guy who's campaigning to try to be an MVP.
yeah
Yeah, and Phoenix, they just hate the Lakers.
Yeah, so I just don't see it ending well for the Lakers, which is kind of like makes it feel like by default we might get in because they're just gonna like free fall out. Um, but then I'll tell you the New Orleans schedule as well. So obviously they're gonna play the Lakers twice. It's the Lakers tomorrow on Sunday, then they play the Trailblazers, and then the Lakers on Friday. And then the next week would be the Clippers, the Kings, the Trailblazers again, and then they close out the year with against the Grizzlies and the Warriors.
That
So
honestly is not that bad for them.
yeah, so it kind of like feels like
That
obviously we control. We got to win our games.
mhm.
The
But
Warriors are a team that would for sure sit their players out a second to last game of the season before the playoffs start.
Yeah, especially with Steph hurt.
Mm-hmm. So like you're running off the schedules for like those people. Yeah, but like I think equally, I think we're just gonna have the right mindset for the last couple things, you know, for the last like week basically, or last eight games, right? Um, my my teacher would always tell us like, you know, hey, if you give your kids this amount of time to prep for something, they're gonna learn it right here at the end, right here in this little spot, right? So like that's as much as like young people can hold their attention, right? Well, we got our young squad. I think like the grind of the long season, it's up and down, but we're here now. Like there's nothing else. There's not too much in front of us anymore. It's just this is our one goal to make the playoffs. How do you do it? There's 8 games. Let's walk them down one by one. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I think our mindset's going to be in the right place. I mean, I gotta hope, right?
Yeah, I say this. I've told Jake this a lot. I I don't. I'm not arguing like what's better, playoff experience or a draft pick. I've said on this show, I think both can like really benefit the team. Um, if you ended up getting a top 4 pick, then yeah, right, you're gonna add some talent and you're gonna be like bolstering your lineup with a really athletic like big or 4 most likely, right? But like just the stretch down this like last week alone, the game against the Warriors, Keldon like hitting that stuff like that's important. I think like your young guys find ways to win, or you lose, you don't win, and you know you know what you did wrong because I think you're gonna lose at some point. So if you're learning how to do it right now, it's only gonna be like better in the long run. And I've told Jake this a million times. You're gonna tank. Like I think we're like you're gonna lose naturally. Like you're going to go out there and compete. We're not just like sitting people or like resting just for the heck of it. We're losing bodies, and we're kind of just we were already a middle of the pack team as it was, and so it showed like the Warriors game could have been easily like a loss, and then if you lost this close game against New Orleans and you're now 3 or 4 games behind the
Yeah,
Pelicans,
we're out of it
yeah,
then at that
you're out
point.
of it.
Mhm.
And like that would have been, I think, not a bad thing. Like I'm not saying like losing and getting a draft pick is a bad thing. I think tanking is bad. But if you're losing and you're just not good enough, that's one thing. But they competed. They won. They won
Yeah.
those games. And now you go into this week and you have, like Chris has been saying, like the clear path. Like you're looking right at your avenue. You got games to win, take care of, and you're still getting better. You still got a bunch of young guys. Look at the jump Keldon made this year compared to last. Like I don't see the the negative side of just competing and trying to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
but
And I also, to that point, I also don't see the reason why we need to give up on the guys so early. Like why we don't think that like our guys have not like other than like I guess Lonnie in a sense, which he has in this last month in this aspect, but like all of our players have made jumps almost every single year. Like we've seen DJ take a next step in his game every single year. We've seen Devin take a next step. We saw Derek take, minuscule steps because they weren't as gigantic as everybody else was, but he was still adding to his game every year. And it's just like those things. Keldon, right? Keldon in what is this for him? Year 3, right? Making jumps every year, and you're not I feel like there's nothing to be like, no reason for people to like just like be ready to like let go of guys or be done with the roster that we have. Recently, I've been like very much on this train of trying to compare our team with the Phoenix Suns of like right before the bubble, because they were a terrible team. They were a terrible team, and it took them just a couple years of bad basketball with Devin Booker and then finally DeAndre Ayton, a couple young pieces that they built over time. And now look at where they are because they added a Chris Paul, because they added just a couple other role players that around this young core, they're a top seed in the West. I
Yeah,
feel like
and Phoenix is really high, like on Mikal Bridges. He doesn't put up like flashy stats or whatever, but they always like call him, like if you look at the Twitter comments, like he's their depoy, like he's their best wing guy. And it's like, yeah, they got a full complete team because they were bad. They added like to Jake's point, they added talent each year. They all got better, and now like as they're all getting older, Devin Booker's taken a leap to be like a one of the best scorers in the NBA. Yeah, like where does that get you once you add a piece through free
Yeah.
agency?
And I know the other argument would be like, well, Aiton is like a number 1 pick or whatever.
that's
You know,
that is
Yeah,
quite literally the
that,
only thing that we
that
do not have right now.
and that's why every time you tell me I'm that, like I know where you're trying to get at, and I know what you're trying to do, but I'm just like, no.
But DeAndre
Like
Ayton,
that's exactly how I feel.
doesn't
But,
even play at like, he plays at a borderline star level. Not at
yeah,
anything. He's not anything that's like.
No, but they're just it's just saying like if you're talking about being patient and letting a guy develop, you're comfortable doing that with a number 1 pick because you have the feeling that that's where he's gonna get,
But the
and
thing,
and people just don't feel that our guys
well,
who
it's
aren't
like,
getting drafted way in those high levels can't get to that level even if we give them time. That's the
yeah,
argument.
and I mean, I guess I can understand that, right? I can understand that, but at the same time, we literally have this draft coming up with 3 draft picks that, wherever our pick lands plus the other 2 picks, I'm sure
Yeah.
we can get those assets.
As
and
an organization, we have the option to be semi-competitive in the playoff picture and semi-competitive / active in the next upcoming draft. We have good flexibility. Like we can have good aspects in multiple facets of our organization. It doesn't have to be that we suck on the court so that we can be good off the court. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like that. And
Now-
and we are a small market team. We can't really afford that, in my opinion. You kind of have to be good at it all and work
Yeah.
harder at it all than a bigger market, and that's just how it goes.
One thing I do fear is like if we do like end up all of our draft picks end up being like 12 or higher, well, we would have to give up like a piece, like a roster guy, to move up. That's one thing that I am worried about. Like if that's like a plan, if that's what they're set on doing is moving up in this draft, and
Mhm.
then like now your pick is the 14th pick, or if you make the playoffs like 15, 16, and then the Boston pick is going up there in the like late 20s, like yeah, like it's gonna take more to trade up if that's your plan. That is one thing that I'm kind of like, I don't want to do that, but I don't also want to sit around and like draft another Primo or Devin. That's going to
Maybe
be 2 or 3
it's
years.
gonna be
maybe they give up a first round pick for like next year. You know what I mean?
Nah,
Like
I think
they're
it's
not
gonna be
used
Devin.
they're not used to doing that. You know what I mean?
It has to be Devin. The way all y'all talk about him, Jacob's all over this guy, and then he talks down on Lonnie. Well, if we think that about us, then that's what other people think. They're gonna say, well, and everybody says that. Well, why don't we just trade Lonnie and our picks? well, if y'all want to trade him, then why would anybody be like, yeah, I want that guy? You know, they're
Right.
gonna take Devin, and that's what I've been saying. Like, I look at Spurs Twitter and they're like, oh, well, we just need to get rid of Lonnie in the picks and move up, or we need to get rid of this player. They don't want to give up. They don't want to give up. Oh, go ahead.
Well, if you were to give up Devin, you would think that we would still draft a guy that's more like a power forward, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, would you feel comfortable? Would you like feel comfortable giving up Devin and kind of depleting your small forward position at that spot? You know what I mean? Like you put all the weight on Keldon and Richardson.
The reason I would be comfortable with it is because say we do lose Devin, but we get our 4, it puts us right where I wanted us to be with Keldon being our 3, and then we're gonna look for a backup via free agency. Do you know?
Well, to be honest, you probably just commit to Richardson at that point. You commit to Richardson
but
at your 3.
I still feel like Josh is our 2. So if we get the DJ and then Josh and then Keldon plus our draft asset in the 4, and we have Yak, and then we're just replacing Devin's bench, like the small forward at the bench, and that's what would be my ideal situation if we're moving somebody to get up. That's exactly what I would do.
For me, it's like ideally I would not want to move up if that's what it takes is to get rid of Devin. Like it's like
I'd rather
kind of what I was talking about with Keldon this year. It's like why would we trade Keldon or Jakob or any of these guys? Yeah, like
I think to me it's the Kawhi. It's the Kawhi. It's like we had George, and George was on his way to be a great player, but we have to give up a good player to get a great player.
Yeah, because in this scenario, like you wouldn't be giving up Devin for a guy that's going to take a couple years to develop. You're getting a guy who's going to be an impact player right away at a position that you need right now.
Hopefully. Yeah,
exactly. Hopefully, it's a swing.
The only thing with that is like we traded George Hill, a role player, for Kawhi Leonard, a role player. We'd be like the assets don't necessarily like I don't really see that manner like kind of happening unless it's like to me it's like I feel like a team would probably want like a Josh Richardson a little bit more, especially like I mean like yes we're high on Devin, but it's not like Devin had a good year. Like I mean unless a team really just banks on the potential of Devin Vassell, like it's the same thing. I mean, Devin didn't really have.
It's a package. It's a package deal, though. It's a package deal. You're getting multiple first round picks plus Devin.
Yeah, and you're saying you're talking about Phoenix Suns. Well, a lot of people, even Mikal Bridges, has heard that they compare Devin to him, and if Phoenix is high on a guy like that, then who wouldn't want?
Who wouldn't want the architect on there, right?
Yeah.
No, I get that.
Exactly.
And I mean, like the only other thing, I guess if anything, I would rather us trade that whatever pick we have plus those other 2 and just move up like 2 or 3 spots than try to bank on us doing those 3 picks plus Devin to move up 5 to 6 slots. I'm not necessarily.
If you're gonna get one of the.
If we're trading 15 and 2 other picks plus Devin Vassell for a top 4 pick in the draft. That's a little bit of a different story, but that's
exactly what I'm talking
to
about.
Me, that's not enough. But that's not enough. That's not enough assets. Nobody's going to say yes to that. Well, nobody's going to give us.
Yeah, they would if they have their guy. If
you have the chance to be able to pair a star player, like in a sense saying like they have their guy, a star player with another potential star player instead of a star player with 4 potential role players. Technically, I would say Devin's gonna be better than another role player, but in the NBA's mind right now, I would say Devin role player, right? You're trading your potential star player for 4 potential role players. I don't think anybody agrees to that. I don't think any team in the league agrees to that.
I'm saying if you look at the top teams, if they already have a center or a power forward, they would be more inclined to trade back, get the role players because they have that position filled.
So like who? Like Sacramento?
Yeah, Sacramento with Sabonis.
I think they would be more inclined to trade 2 picks back and pick up a guy in the draft that's 5 to 6 than be like, I'm going to trade to get down that far.
Yeah, but
to drop 10.
they could in their eyes, I think they could say, well, maybe Devin Vassell will be better than who I'm gonna get at 5, and he's only 2 years older than him and ready to play now.
Yeah, and
we're gonna get free
maybe a
picks.
team who just gave
Do you
up
understand what I'm saying?
Halliburton. Maybe a guy who just gave up Halliburton gets a player who's comparable.
That we
plus-
just had a conversation about who's
yeah,
going to
exactly.
be better. Like
Plus a bunch of
that's what I'm
assets on
saying.
top of it.
Those
You know
type
what I
of
mean?
teams would maybe be willing to trade back.
In
if they have
2019, the Hawks and the Pelicans, I guess they had a deal. I think I get all this right. It was like the 4th overall pick, and they like salary dumped Solomon Hill. The Hawks did. I think to New Orleans, or maybe like New Orleans sent Solomon Hill to the Hawks. But it was like the 4th pick, and then New Orleans gave them, or I don't know which way it was, but it was the 4th pick for the 8th pick, the 17th pick, and the 35th pick, and then the next year's first. That's not too different than like the picks we have right now.
And dude, we have cap space if we're gonna take one of the dumps.
Yeah, so yeah, because the team that got the 4th overall pick, they selected DeAndre Hunter, and then they acquired Solomon Hill. So they got the 4th pick, they took on Solomon Hill's contract.
And DeAndre Hunter went to Atlanta, right? Because that's where he's at.
Yeah, to Hunter. And then the New Orleans got Jackson Hayes with the 8th pick, Nikhil Alexander Walker in the 17th pick, and then I don't know the guard, Marcus Luzada Silva, the 36th pick.
And at the time they were trying to build around Anthony Davis still, or is this Zion already?
This was the Zion draft.
This is Zion.
I see.
So to that point, they traded, like, it was the 4th pick for the 8th and the 17th pick. That could be Toronto's pick, and that could be our pick. Right now, we're the 8th best lottery odds. If we don't move at all, we'll be the 8th pick. So there was no players involved in that deal, like besides Solomon Hill, which was a salary dump.
But we're talking outside of lottery. We're talking 3 picks outside of lottery. If we make playoffs, that's kind of what Josh was saying, right?
I know. That's what I had brought up earlier. Was I'm afraid if we do keep moving up, like
that we're gonna have to include
a player because the picks aren't as good.
We're gonna have to trade one of our assets we already have in order to get to like that ideal thing. And if that's the plan they are with right now, they're like, we're gonna compete, we're gonna fight for the playoffs. If we have to trade a guy, then we'll do it. We're gonna get, because I don't know how the front office views, but like there's like a big 3. It's Chet, Banchero, and who's the 3rd guy?
I think it's like a Jabari something.
Jabari Smith.
Okay, that's the guy I saw. It's the Auburn guy, right? He's like really versatile. Could be the 4. I just see him like slotting in right next to our guy. I would love for that, right? Right next to Jakob and the rest of the crew. But I was just saying, I'm not a fan of trading a pick or a guy to have to move up.
Well, to the whole, not to pick anybody's side, but just to speak to the conversation of tanking versus not. Those are the sacrifices that you make on both ends, right? It's like if we want to consider pushing towards the playoffs a victory, some of the consequences of that is what happens later in the draft, right? And whereas we see that the other side sees that part as like, well, the negative aspects of every time we win a game, that's hurting my
they're like, well, you want to keep Devin, well then stop cheering for these fools to win.
Exactly. Exactly right. So
and I know I think like I kind of speak for all 4 of us that like we are primarily NBA watchers. I watch March Madness. I've been trying to keep up with Texas Tech basketball, but I'm not necessarily a college basketball watcher. There's not really a lot of draft prospects that I was like looking into. But in this aspect, I'll bring up a guy like Jalen Duren, who's a center from Memphis. I'd rather us be like, that guy's supposed to be like a top 8, top 10 pick in the draft. I'd rather us trade the 3 picks to get a guy like that. Just moving up.
And then what would we do with Jakob? That just puts us in a.
Well, then I'm just saying. I'm not saying him specifically.
He's saying a player who's not going to cost you the asset, but a guy who's still going to be able to help out.
And I'm still just saying like size or whatever. Like and I mean, shoot, like I'm sure we could start Jakob and then play him at the backup, like or whatever. Either way, it's that I'm just saying like when I know that there's a guy with size at that spot in the draft.
It's hard for me to envision us doing anything is because exactly I guess not many drafts
Or even
happen where
a,
where
a,
there's
a
where there's
Keegan
like the
Murray.
top 3 guys are exactly what we need, what I feel is gonna
There's
push
there's
us. Like,
there's been a couple talks about a Keegan Murray, that Keegan Murray kid.
yeah, I like
That
Keegan Murray.
that he's also like that sizable 4, is he not? I mean,
Yeah, but I think that is like that's like he's a good player to where it like if things happen and we just get him like Juan said, like say we just missed the playoffs and we just end up drafting him, like that's perfect. Like that and that I think
but
that's great.
why
But
wouldn't it
if
be a
we're
thing
gonna
where,
want
like, if he's dropping down to a late top 10 pick, why don't we just use the picks to get him? Why don't we
because I
just
feel
trade up?
to me like if we're gonna trade up, then go all in. Like
Yeah,
don't just don't
so
that
that's
that's
exactly
how
what
I
I was gonna
feel.
say.
Well,
That's
you got
exactly what I was
you
If
do
we're
got
gonna
to
trade
you got to
him,
plan
then
for
go
both.
all
You got to
in
plan for
go get
both.
go get the guy. Don't trade up to get your second choice.
But
That's to me like
let me ask you then. So then for you, if the Spurs, obviously they're gonna ask, but if nobody says yes to trading a top 5 pick, you say if nobody says yes on that, I'm not going to plan B and trading 1 or 2 picks to get into like that top 10. You're saying no?
yeah, I wouldn't. Then I would take our chances with our guys
I see.
and then take
with
our chances
with
at free agency
three
with our salary cap.
Okay.
with 3 draft picks coming in
Yeah,
on the board, like,
yeah,
we're not
because
nobody's
I
gonna
still think
find
that we
time on
could
the court.
trade. We don't know what's going to happen with
No,
Doug. I
no,
think that
wait, Josh. You say that. Look at today. Look at today's lineup. That bench unit. That's 3 rookies that have been playing today with
in
guys
in
like out.
in one game out of 82.
no,
No, but it's not just one
wait,
game.
no, no.
It's
Do I think that this year with our draft picks that we could draft somebody better than Joe Wieskamp? Yes. Do I think that this year we could draft somebody better than Trey Jones? Yes. So if you take those 2 out, then yes, yes, I'm fine
that's
with that.
what I had told Jake this when we were watching the game in New Orleans, or not in New Orleans, against New Orleans, right?
Mhm.
The couple days or a couple like Fridays ago. I told him, I was looking at our bench unit and I was like, look how like much like this unit is struggling, and their team is just like their third string is just running up on us and like throwing us all over the place. I was like, that's because yeah, they've been bad. They have higher end talent for the lower end, like
Yeah.
group.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And it's just like you could just tell. And I told Jake, I was like, it may not be like a priority, but like this has to be improved next year.
Yeah,
And yeah,
and so if you have 3 first-round picks and you can improve your roster in the depth chart positions like 8,
Like,
7,
okay,
and like 9, 8, and 7, or 8, 7, and 6, then you use your draft. You use your free agency money to get a guy who's now bolstering up your second or third
See,
option.
now
Now you're
you're saying 8, 7, and 6, and I don't think that we're getting 8, 7, and 6. We're probably getting 7 or
Look,
6 with a like right in the middle of the pack pick that we own. But the other 2 picks that are going to be a little bit later, I don't see those picks
okay, Jake,
becoming
this is a team that has Keldon, DeJounte, and Trey Jones all playing meaningful minutes.
all players who did not get meaningful minutes in their first year. That's the thing that
yeah,
I'm saying too.
but these guys are gonna
and
find minutes.
honestly, yeah, because of our team, they're gonna find minutes. And
So
then who
this-
knows what our coach is gonna look like next year? It might not be Greg, and it might not be the you're going to the G League thing. It might be you're getting these minutes. So
And-
that's a factor that we haven't even talked about that could play a huge role in our draft. Like
this team this year started a 10-game stretch, but the guy who's not even on our team is getting 10-day contracts in Portland. Like this team started Kata Bates for a long period of time. Like those are the players where like now
Yeah.
you draft a first round pick, they're filling those spots.
Yeah.
And now when you have to do that, it's not just like, oh, it's a guy who's only going to be here for a year. It's okay, this guy could be here. He's going to be here for at least the next 4. Like
so like I guess like y'all know my intentions. If we're gonna trade up, I want to trade up. I don't want to.
Mhm.
I don't want to go get.
so that's what I was gonna say. I think if you're going to trade up, it's got to be for like
The top guy, right?
a top guy,
I
an
mean,
impactful
what I
guy,
mean.
generational talent. Because I was looking at this, New Orleans selected like Jackson Hayes, like with the 8th pick. Like if that's where we stayed right now, if we missed the play-in, missed the playoffs and everything, we got the 8th pick. Like, are you gonna draft a guy like Jackson Hayes? I'm sure New Orleans loves like the fans, like they love him, right? I'm sure they like this stuff. I'm sure he can do more than like what you see. He had the game against us a couple weeks ago. he was banging threes on us while being like athletic and big. But it's like I'm fine with just sticking right there. But if we fall to like if we get the 8th pick, yeah, like I'm fine with like a pick like that. You get a player like that. But if we get the playoffs, if we're the 14th pick, I don't want to trade up to get a player like Jackson Hayes.
Yeah,
like
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
So you're saying like Josh, you would like to swing if it can get you better than that, but
Yeah.
also no giving up Devin.
Yeah, like
Okay.
don't give it like. But if you have a top 10 pick, if you have the 8th pick, and you ship number 8, number 15, and whatever like 20 something pick for a top 5 pick, then yeah, like that's awesome. But I don't want us to trade back into the top 10 because we made the playoffs. I would just stick with whatever picks those are.
The only reason why I am a little bit more on the side of like we should just move up to get that solid talent is because I think that would just help us in the more now and continue to work with us a little bit more than just getting another project piece that we've been doing for the last good couple years. I think like other than Devin and Josh, it's always been late first round picks that are just project pieces. Keldon, I think Keldon's been the only player that I've seen make a jump from year 1 to year 2 and then find his consistent role and continue to improve like that. DJ, obviously his situation, I don't really count DJ too much because his comparison, like his situation was just different from everybody else's. His situation was on the tail end of the big 3. Everybody else's situation was something else.
Well, I mean, I think until you get the stability of something even remotely comparable to a big 3, you're gonna have a mixture of the guys who you think are your mainstays and the guys who become the projects.
I was gonna say like you just said that Josh and Devin are not project pieces.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. We're gonna have to just keep having
nobody.
Yeah.
I guess when I say that Josh and Devin aren't project pieces, I guess I mean more that they have come along a little bit faster than what Derek did and what Lonnie did.
They were just not even Josh, because Josh is just running around out there, which he should. I'm not saying he needs to be way where he's right where he should be, I think. But
everybody is gonna keep like progressing in a certain way, and then all of it, like we said before, like depending on how Primo comes, that changes how you look at a guy like Trey. We were riding high with Derek White until something that the Spurs saw made him expendable. So like it's just gonna keep chugging along in that manner, right? You know what I mean? And go ahead.
Keldon and Lonnie are 3 years away from where DeJounte is right now, and like if you look at it like that, then Devin's 4 years away, 5 years away from where DeJounte is right now. And if you look at it like that, Primo is 10 years away. There's so much time with this team.
But with those, and that's why I'm saying like you're right when you say Keldon and Lonnie would be 3 years away, but I would put Primo and Devin in closer to that same boat. I wouldn't say Primo's 10 years away. I would say Primo's
19 years
also.
Yeah, but either way, even if Primo's 5 years away, even if Primo is 4 years away, you still want a guy on his back end to keep progressing along, like to be somebody right behind him. Like we still are going to have projects along the way.
I'm saying, yeah, I understand that we're going to have projects along the way, but I'm saying that like I would rather we try to keep it in the same boat of within the next 4 years, not we're going to have a guy for the next 5 years and then we'll finally see what he's at. Because I think Josh Primo, I think Devin Vassell are both close. Like to me, Devin's jump was like a little less than what I wanted it to be in comparison, but still a little bit bigger than what Lonnie's jump was, than what Keldon's jump was.
If guys have faster jumps, you want to have more draft picks behind them to fill in the roles that they end up growing out of because they're better players.
The reason why I'm saying that we should try to move up and get another guy in that same timetable is that we want to see the guys that have now.
It pushes our immediate ceiling. It pushes our immediate ceiling higher.
Trade up for that? We don't have to trade up for that. We could
if there's a guy with that's like clearly better in this sense, to me, a guy like Keegan Murray, that we see the flashes of what he could be, and he falls down to an 8, then we should move up to pick up a guy like that, because he's going to be better than your 15 and your 20, like, and just putting it in like whatever those other two picks can be.
Jake is just saying that there are some guys he thinks that could make that impact at that spot.
But we could find a guy like that in free agency and not give up anything.
Why like I don't think we should be trying to spend our money picking up like guys that aren't going to be your best, second best, or third best player on the team. I don't think we should be using our money to be using to try to get guys that are not on the same level as DeJounte Murray.
But you're gonna have to pay
talking about
Keldon.
role players.
So,
the money.
so that's what I'm saying. I'm not telling you to get two guys like that. I'm telling you that we should start having it to where if we have the chance to be able to get one guy on that caliber, then that's fine. And like Juan said, the rest of that money's used for the role players that we have on our team now. The guys that we have now.
That being said, I would like for that money to be spent on somebody that plays like the 3 or like the 2, 3, or 4. But I think we do need to draft a power forward. Like we need to draft a power forward.
If we move up, if we trade Devin and the picks, I'm just saying because we've been talking about that. If we do go get our 4 and we go get a guy like Zach LaVine, and because that we talked about that as well, like. You would not give up Devin and those picks for Zach LaVine and that 4. You don't think that puts us in?
And that's only
from 11 to
me. That's only if that trade actually happens. To me, like because I just don't see that trade actually happening. And I know Juan was talking about the Hawks Pelicans trade, but I don't see an asset. I don't see that jumble of assets being able to trade up for a number like a top 4 pick in the draft. That's my opinion.
So if, like I said, if we stay where we are right now, we have the 8th pick. It's the same picks. It's the 8th, and the Toronto pick will be right there, if not better than the 17th pick.
And in that manner, I don't think we have to give up Devin to get up there. That's when but if it's 15,
it's the type of players too.
Instead of
type
8.
of players like that. That draft, the top of that draft, the Jackson Hayes draft, or of who did you say went
Zion? It was Zion, Ja,
and then after
Barrett.
after that it fell off. Even RJ Barrett.
Well,
like that,
no, I think Darius Garland was the 5th pick. That's another reason, or it's like if we stay at 8 and then you get like a Keegan Murray or whatever, like that's awesome. You know what I mean? And then if they turn out to be an all-star, that's great. But if you're just trading up to get that latter half of the top 10,
I don't think. Excuse me. I don't think that it would. Would necessarily.
Even though I don't know why he keeps talking about Keegan Murray because I don't think he's gonna fall to 8 anyways.
Well, either way, if he's falling out of top 5 is what I'm saying. If that's like 6, 7, 8 in that manner, if he's falling out of top 5, then that's easy for me to be like we should move up like that. But either way, like the I understand that. If we're at 14, and we have like 18 and 26, right? Something along the lines of that. And like we move up to 11. I don't know if I'm I guess I'm not. I get that in that sense because you're not really changing from 14 to 11. But if we're trading those 3 picks to move up to 8 to 7, then we are getting a guy who should be better than your 14, 18,
all I'm saying is
something.
A guy like you go get a guy in the top 3. Those guys attract other guys. Nobody's going to want to say, oh, yeah, dude, the Spurs just drafted this guy at 10. I'm going to go play with him. If Zach LaVine, or I'm just saying Zach LaVine, if Zach LaVine saw, hey, my buddy from Seattle's over there, oh, dang, they just drafted, Chet, they just drafted Pablo, like, that's a destination. Like, that's why I say swing. Like, I'm not trying to draft at 8. I'm not trying to go up and draft at 8 or 6 or whatever. I want the top to attract the top. You know what I'm saying?
And Jake, I mean, you do kind of sway me a little bit where it's like, yeah, if all of our picks end up being literally like the second half of the draft, like 15, like you said, 20 and 26, then yeah, like if you can get a guy who might have slipped, okay, whatever. Like you've kind of swayed me on that. But I think if it's depth you're going for, then you have a chance of being like, 10 deep of just full of young guys. And
maybe you give up 2 to draft a guy a little bit higher, and you draft one where you land. You know what I mean? And you just build it that way.
And I'll definitely say that I would prefer us like if my thing was like number one on my choice, like number two would be preferring us to like just keep those 3 picks rather than trading those 3 picks and Devin, or trading those 3 picks and whoever, whether it's Devin, Keldon, Primo, any of those assets that aren't DeJounte Murray, you know. If we're trading any of those 3 picks plus an asset to move up, I'm not down for that. Like that's not what I do not want to move away from any of our guys at all, really. Except for like I think the leaning thing for me is maybe Jakob if we're getting another center, if we are moving up to get another center. Because
I can't believe you just said that.
and the only reason I say that is because Jakob's on a bargain of a deal. Like he is on a bargain of a deal. We can make a very good trade happen where it's like, you guys want this guy that's on such a cheap deal, and we don't have to give up nearly as much because we know what Jakob brings to a team.
The only way I would trade Jakob in this draft is if we know we're getting like DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah. On top of getting a top power forward in the
and
draft,
that's what I'm saying. I literally, that's exactly what I'm saying. Is like I'm not trading Jakob unless it's for another center, unless it's to upgrade that position from Jakob to a better player.
The fact that you can only probably name a maximum of maybe 5 players, it probably means that you should keep him.
Yeah, and I'd rather keep him. I think he's the only.
I wouldn't trade. I think the only player that I'm trading, well, that we have under contract would be. I don't want to get rid of Primo, so I'm gonna have to say Devin. Well,
or you could say Josh Richardson, who's under contract. That is a very solid asset.
But he's not our. I'm talking about our young core.
Yeah.
Like I understand Josh Richardson, but I would say Doug. I mean, if I'm just gonna get rid of somebody,
Doug. Yes, Doug.
Then I would say
Doug. And I mean, hey, like what if it is like?
I mean, maybe they want Doug. If they want Doug, then I'll.
What if we are kind of trading like 26 and Doug for like a team? I can't tell you the standings right now, but like just let's just say there's like another contender at like 23 or 22 that like would love to have a Doug McDermott on their team, and they're just moving down in the draft.
Hey, or you know what I was thinking? Because Orlando's gonna be up there. Like those teams like that have those big guys already. I'll trade one of my picks and I'll go snag Mo Bamba off their hands. Like I'll go that route as well. If we're not gonna get one of the big guys, one of the big rooks, I'll go snag one of the young guys too.
Trading two picks plus Doug McDermott back to Indiana for Miles Turner.
Well,
damn, that's a lot.
Well, I guess we'll have plenty more time to talk about this stuff.
When sure.
I think we'll know next week. I think by next weekend, by next show, we'll know whether we're gonna make this playoffs, right? Or whether we're gonna
for sure. So yeah, then we'll get right into the end of the show. It's definitely a good bit away from the thing. Josh says 3-0. If you can give me 1 second, Chris, how do you see the week? I'll restate it real quick because we just a good minute away. That we're playing against Houston, then coming home to play against Memphis, then finishing out the week against Portland. But Chris, what do you think about the week?
I'll go the easy route. I'll say 2-1. You know, because I think that even based off of the week we just had, a 2-1 week is a good week. I would like for us to show a really good showing against Memphis, though. But I do think that that's the game.
Okay, and Juan,
2-1.
2-1.
Oh, and I will say real quick, like I am a little concerned with Lonnie Walker, like if he's going to be coming back. You know what I mean? Like at what point is he going to come back? How is that going to affect our overall push? You know, like I'm a little concerned.
Both games he suited out and warmed up. He just didn't play.
Okay.
So to me, it's like just rest up. That's how I felt.
Yeah, and that's another thing that not necessarily like do I think he's really really hurt, but also like we play it pretty conservatively. So like, are we just going to sit him out? And if we do, is that going to be the difference between us winning or losing a game or two over these last 8? You know what I mean?
The only thing that I saw was like, dang, I thought he would be back for this game, but now that we're playing Houston and we know it's kind of they're not the best team in the world, right? I would say, hey, go ahead. Like, and Devin, I think Monday we might run this same lineup that we ran today.
Yeah,
just because it is Houston, and they maybe they could sit at home I don't. I mean, I'm sure
You
they'll
save
travel
him.
with
You
the
save
team.
him for Memphis or what?
Yeah, and just say, you know what, go home and rest up for Memphis, and then finish off
I
the.
think I think that's the biggest indicator of like if a team's tanking or not as well. It's like we're kind of like on the line. We've sat Jakob and DeJounte down like
It's
back to
usually
backs and
been
stuff,
it's usually been back to backs. Yeah.
Mhm.
and it's just like, are we really trying to win every game? Are we throwing all our bodies out there, or are we just
I
kind of
mean,
like living with
I
it?
will say as somebody who is on the side of I want us to win the game, I would at the end of the day still prioritize the long term health over any of the guys. At this point.
Which yeah, and to me it falls into a natural tank. Like if that's the way the cards fall, or like the hand you're dealt is you're losing some bodies. Like yeah, why are you gonna force it and hurt these guys even more for
Yeah.
this play-in tournament? That like even if we get the 10th seed, I mean we could lose that game just like last year and be like right
Yeah.
out of it again.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and you're risking health on these players. So I think again like Josh said, like we'll have a clear like idea of the playoff race by next like Sunday's episode.
Yeah, for
Mhm. I'll say I really hope that Romeo Langford starts to come back at some point. Whatever direction we decide to go for, because I really want to see what he will look like. Just within this last stretch of games, just because I remember like watching the draft, seeing Romeo Langford go to the Celtics, just being like, okay, he's like a solid little player, and like just like looking at the opportunities that he got, and I was like, well, seeing him on our team, it's a thing where I'm like, he is somebody that we didn't even talk about at all in terms of our assets, and he could potentially be an asset. He could potentially be an asset. He is a project piece, and he's still got like this year and next year on the books. So
Yeah.
like we could see us actually like see him make a jump, and there's another guard / forward that we'd have to fill in for our guys, so that's just another thing I'd like to see Romeo Langford go. I also had 2-1 on the week. I think all right, give me 1 second. I say 2-1, but I'm gonna have to hold strong and say that we're gonna go 3-0. 3-0 on the week, and I think we can beat Memphis. I think we can beat Memphis. I think we have to beat Memphis if we're not gonna if we're willing and ready to be in the playoffs. Like Josh said, if I think at the end of this week we'll know where we're at direction wise, and to me Memphis is that cornerstone game. If we beat Memphis, we take advantage of them not having John Morant, even if they do have a good record without him. If we can do that, then to me it's like full push. We're running for the playoffs right now. So that's my opinion on that, which means I would say that I'd agree with Josh going 3-0.
All right.
To look at the updated scoreboard, no one won or lost any points because I wasn't able to get Josh and Juan's predictions on the week. I'm sure Josh would have. I'm actually sure Josh would have said 3-0, and
Absolutely.
somehow, some way he would have gotten his point, but he didn't get his point this last week. So it's kind of funny to think about.
You should just give it to him.
I'll go ahead and update the leaderboard real quick to say
I
that
already
Josh.
told you. I think I told you multiple times. Don't even ask me. Just
Josh
give me
Josh
the
knows
dubs.
that he'll go undefeated. But me and Chris had gone 2-1. Juan, what did you say that your prediction was last week after the podcast?
I told Jake on the record 1 and 2.
So
I
on
Hey,
the record,
that means Juan would have lost a point.
Mhm.
on the record 1 and 2, but I'm not gonna take a point away because I wasn't able to ask him in time to do the thing, and that's on me since I'm like looking at this stuff. So I'm not gonna take a point away from Juan. However, we went 3-0 in the week, so I lost a point. So I'm a little bit farther way back now, and there's only a couple weeks left. Left.
That's why Jake is swinging big and went 3-0 on the week. That's why.
Yeah, he is.
I can't lose a point if we go
He
undefeated
doesn't
and I
even
lose a
believe
point
in
again.
the Spurs. He's just trying to
Yes,
win
I
this damn
do.
game.
Yes, I
Oh
do.
my god.
I think it's been a long time since I've said we were gonna go like negative on the week. So
Hey Jake, what's up with your boys in Miami, man? They're falling apart.
I don't know, man.
You saw my take on it. You already know who I'm rolling with.
I'll say that Jimmy has nothing on Udonis Haslem. I don't think Jimmy could.
It's all falling apart. I think once they realized that they were all just bubble frauds, they started falling apart.
I don't think they're bubble frauds, but I will say that
There's
Everybody,
anything-
everybody who was good in the bubble, like the Lakers and Miami, is just falling apart.
I think the one thing the Lakers situation and Miami situation, two different situations. But I will say that they are the two teams that were able to take the opportunity in their hands and like run with the fact that they had that whole offseason.
I don't see how
of,
they're two different situations when both teams just had players shooting like lights out and having like way better games than what they do like, any other year.
because
That-
Miami's like done like different retooling than what the Lakers have done.
who cares? So DeJounte is like averaging 25 points, 9 rebounds, and like 8 assists after the All-Star break, and Jimmy Butler is averaging like 17 points on like 15% shooting from 3. So
And
like,
he's trying to fight his head coach.
yeah, and he's trying to fight his own
himself.
team, and they're falling apart.
Kyle Lowry
yeah.
will save them. Kyle will save them.
Jake chose Miami over the Spurs, and
I did not choose Miami over the Spurs.
No, we have
I
the better
do a
player.
Spurs podcast. I do a
He
Spurs
has
podcast.
he has the Jimmy Butler headband on right now. Yeah, this guy.
It's a regular bandana, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Mm.
But that was another thing. My Twitter blew up this last week because I found a clip. I wasn't able to get the clip for the episode, but I found a clip just rewatching the 2016 draft, and the guys talking on the thing where pretty much just like making a tongue-in-cheek joke saying like the Spurs had the 29th pick, but like don't tune away, they're gonna draft an all-star. And everybody else just kind of chuckled at it. It was like, ah ha ha. And it's like a thing, credit to the Spurs drafting process or whatever, but it was a thing where nobody is expecting that pick to be an all-star. And well, it just so happened to be DeJounte Murray with the 29th pick in the 2016 draft, who is a San Antonio Spurs all-star. So it was definitely very fun to just be sitting here randomly and hearing that clip, putting it out to Twitter and having all this, like a lot of Spurs Twitter just like be clicking on your own tweet and just like replying, getting your little retweets here and there. If I can look real quickly, I think I am at 591 likes as
he's also so go to my page and click
the
like
the numbers guy has
to go
his
to,
tweet numbers on deck. This
so go
guy's crazy.
so go to Twitter at the real Jakob 08 where I do talk Spurs basketball on the near daily.
I'm averaging 4 likes.
I think I only average like 1 like from my mom every now and then. So, but but I was able to get that tweet going out, and it was just cool. It was cool to get a lot of San Antonio Spurs people liking your tweet. But yeah, guys. Before we wrap it up, do y'all have anything to say about the Spurs week in total?
Get healthy, Lonnie. We're gonna need you.
Get healthy, Lonnie. Yeah, well, guys, before we wrap it up, we do this podcast every Sunday where we do go live at 10 a.m. You can catch us on all 4 platforms of Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, all of which, if you cannot catch us live, you'll be able to watch the VODs shortly after. Make sure that you do follow us on Twitter at Heroes Half Court, where we do pretty much talk Spurs basketball on the near daily. And we love having a lot of the interactions that people give us. So do not be afraid to reach out and talk Spurs basketball with us. We will 100% be there for y'all. But with that being said, guys, hope everybody has a wonderful and blessed day. We are out.